Have you started dabbling with AI and things like ChatGPT in your business? Or are you sitting back just thinking this whole thing seems utterly terrifying? It's going to take over the world and it's going to just destroy business. I have been finding the reactions recently incredibly widespread to this. I went along to a networking event last week that had a bit of a feature presentation all about ChatGPT, and it was absolutely fascinating to see the levels of emotion in the room from some people genuinely terrified about the implications of AI and things like ChatGPT, through to other people who are starting to play with it, starting to make use of it in their business, starting to see some real benefits from it. So I thought, with all of that in mind, that I would share this week my own personal experiences of ChatGPT so far. Now, I am coming from this of the perspective that I am definitely not any kind of tech wizard. This is not a tech guru overview of ChatGPT by any means. It is literally a bit of a summary of what I have been doing so far, my own little dabblings. Plus some really interesting things that I've picked up from the networking talk, from talking to friends, from talking to marketers, and just, starting to assimilate these bits of knowledge. And I have to say, I actually think it's really quite exciting what ChatGPT can do for us if we are open to the possibilities and we use it in a positive way. So I think the first thing to say is, it's not something that I personally would consider or would recommend using to write me an entire piece of content. I'm never going to go to something like ChatGPT and say, write me a blog about adapting AI into your business, because that's not the way I operate. I would never put my whole kind of voice and my marketing message into the hands of something artificial like that. I always want my vlogs, my blogs, my social media posts to sound very much like me. So that does not mean, however, that ChatGPT can't work for me. And I think at the moment, lots of people think it's just there to write your content for you, but it's not. It's there to actually help you write things better. So some of the things that I have been using it for are playing around with the titles of my vlogs. Now, I sometimes think that my tone of writing when it comes to titles is a bit flat, bit predictable. I think I've also been doing this once a week for about the last 5 years. So, there comes a point where creativity is something of a challenge. So what I've started to do is I've opened an account on ChatGPT, just the free one, nothing fancy. And now what I do is I go into there and I start a chat and I say, could you rewrite this blog title in a more interesting but unsalesy way? And then we start having a little conversation with it giving me suggestions and us working on refining it. Now, one question which has massively helped me, and this was from my friend and marketing mentor, Kelly Dawn, is a question along the lines of, before you answer, please ask me any questions that will help you to more clearly understand my objectives. So what I'm now saying to ChatGPT is, can you write me a better version of this blog title, which is more interesting but not salesy? Please ask me any questions that will help you to clarify my goals. And then ChatGPT will come back and ask me things like, who is your target audience? What are their primary pain points? What do you want them to feel after reading this blog? What's the typical tone of voice that you would like to use? And you might actually find by doing this that it asks you some questions you haven't even thought of that will actually help you to write that post in a more targeted, more specific way. But you can also then continue that conversation with ChatGPT. So you can go back to it and say, I don't really like the word behold or unleash or unlock or some of the exciting words that it has suggested for me. And you can ask it to tone it down, or you could ask it to make it more simple, more straightforward, so that you can literally go backwards and forwards and ask it to improve on something, ask it to make something more rigid, more flowery, more relaxed. And it's actually a really interesting way. It is very much like having somebody there to bounce your ideas off. So if you're stuck it's actually a really good creative friend. So some of the other things you can think about using ChatGPT is asking it to help you come up with blog ideas. So you can describe your ideal client, you could describe your ideal client's pain points, and you could say, what do you think they'd most want to hear about? So ChatGPT is going to go away to the internet, it's going to scan for that kind of person and the things they're talking about, and it will come back and say, these are the 6 most recommended topics for your ideal client. Ooh. Now, you don't have to use them. You don't even have to use it exactly the way it's suggested, but it's going to spark thoughts. So again, for those moments where you're kind of, I need to come up with something profound and amazing, what's it going to be? Then ChatGPT can actually be a really good stimulus for that. It can also do fabulous things like you could paste the content of a blog or a long social media post in there and say, please pluck out 4 key points or 6 key points that could each be a short, snappy social media post. So it will actually help you to strip out all the juicy points of your writing, and it will suggest different ways that you can post and share them. So when you're constantly having that conversation with yourself about repurposing and using your content in a much better way, ChatGPT could just be what you need to actually help you to do that. So it can be great as a research tool if you're thinking about creating a course or a membership, or you're just really trying to get under the skin of your ideal client and understand them more. ChatGPT can basically go away and do all that research for you and come back with interesting ideas. So, as I say, for me, it's not something I would ever use to do my writing for me. It's also definitely not something that I would rely on for facts and data. If you have a free account, then the data on there is only scanning the internet up to about 2 years ago. So there's every chance, if you're relying on it for data, that you're opening yourself up to errors. So anything like quotes, data, information, you must check all of that. But the key thing I would say is it's interesting. I think it has some real opportunities. It's actually a way to help us be better at what we do and potentially save more time as well. So for me, I am loving the opportunities from it. I would really love to hear what you think about it and whether you think that there are opportunities or it's just all terror and horror and who knows what. I'm rambling now. I'm like at least 2 minutes over where I'm supposed to stop this video, but it just goes to show there is a lot to talk about in this area. If you would like to talk about it more and understand more about applying it in your business, then why not get in touch and we can have a right good chinwag about it.